What's up, everyone? It is Matt here, and it is time for another week, another episode, another mini episode where it's just a little bit of everything. It's a real grab bag. I think these episodes, grab bag is a term that really encompasses what these episodes are because it's a little bit of everything. It's just random musical news that's come up. There's some random TV movie reviews, some random just story time discussion, and it varies from week to week. So maybe we'll rebrand these as grab bag episodes instead of mini episodes. Not sure which is better or worse because it is the first Wednesday of the month. And to refresh you on our timeline, if this is one of your first times tuning in, welcome. Everyone along for the ride, welcome. Appreciate you all. First and third weeks of the month, mini episodes, grab bag episodes, whatever you want to call them. A lot of times it's just going to be me. Sometimes it'll just be Rayleigh. And then the second and fourth week of the months are joint episodes. It could be a draft, and we do at least one musical movie review a month. So that's the schedule. And if there is a fifth Wednesday of the month, like there was in March, then you get another mini grab bag episode. So, got a little bit of everything coming at you today, including the debut of the segment suggested by Jake over on our Instagram of movies that should be musicals, at least in our opinion. So we'll see how often that segment pops up, but shout out Jake and all our Instagram fans. Jake for the awesome suggestion. He threw some other in there. So if you want to give us ideas on what you want to see, head over, comment on our Instagram post about it. So that being said, it's time to go down once more. Let's go. All right. First thing I'm going to talk about is a little bit of musical Broadway news that we got the past week and a half since I recorded this last mini episode. And that is they announced that NBC's TV show Smash, that ran for 2 seasons, is getting turned into a Broadway musical. So I'm really excited about it. Smash is one of my favorite musical TV series out there. There's fantastic performances across the board in it. And the first season really gives you kind of like a behind the curtains look at the production and how a Broadway musical comes to be. I've hand up, I have no idea how accurate it is. I have obviously never been part of a Broadway musical production, but it covers writing the book, revisions to the script, all the songs going into it, casting, workshops, internal drama, getting funding, everything like that. And I thought it was awesome. I like the music in it is really catchy. The first season, like I said, creating this Marilyn Monroe biopic musical. And the second season, I actually prefer a little bit better, partially features Jeremy Jordan. And I love his voice, as we've talked about many times on here. And he kind of wrote this more pop with his friend roommate, this more pop musical called Hit List that the main character played by Catherine McPhee or Catherine Foster now, Karen Cartwright gets discovers and kind of explores that, and it's a really cool storyline and a really cool musical. And a lot of the songs were written by Pascal Paul, who wrote Dear Evan Hansen, Greatest Showman music, and all of that. So I like the music in season 2 better, but it is, you can't argue season 2 is a lot more soap opera drama-y. And so I think that's part of the reason why his numbers were bad and it got canceled after 2 seasons, even though it has really good reviews on IMDb and other things like that. But the cast of the show is fantastic. I'm a little concerned how they're going to turn it into a 2-hour Broadway musical, right? Because the original series, it was 2 seasons, 16 episodes each, around 45 minutes each. I'm not going to do math, but it's over 10 hours a season. My guess would be the Broadway musical. They haven't revealed many details, except it will feature some songs from the series. The only one they referenced, though, specifically was Let Me Be Your Star, at least in the report I saw from Playbill. And so Let Me Be Your Star is one of the key songs throughout it. It debuts in the pilot episode of the series. And so I don't know how they're going to turn 10, 12 hours of a TV series into one production. So A little worried about that, but I'm really excited for it. And I'll be interested to see if they pull over any of the cast from the series into the musical, even in different roles. But Smash is streaming on the Roku channel now, where you can rent it or buy it digitally. I bought it on Vudu because I enjoyed it. It was on Peacock for a while, but it's gone away. But Deborah Messing is in it, and like I said, Jeremy Jordan. The standout to me is Megan Hilty. I wasn't aware of her before, but she has a fantastic voice, and she's done some Broadway performances too. But it is a fantastic cast. Everyone should check out Smash. So go do that after this episode. Next up, the Sweeney Todd revival or new production of it is going on Broadway now. And that has Josh Groban as Sweeney Todd, Emily Ashford as Mrs. Lovett, which she's a fantastic actress, and she was one of the originals on the Heathers production. Was it Heathers? Yes, it was Heathers with Jeremy Jordan when they did her reading. I don't think she ever played it on Broadway, but Emily Ashford, shout out her. And then Jordan Fisher's in it as well as Anthony. And I'm a big Jordan Fisher fan. He has a fantastic voice. He was Evan Hansen on Broadway for a while. So great guy. And that's a fantastic cast. So I will not be able to go see it. But if you're in New York or checking out a show on Broadway, everything I've been seeing of it has been very positive. So it sounds like it's a good production. Some TV series that I've talked about briefly. Yellow Jackets season 2 is back. The premiere episode of season 2 didn't really grab me, but with episode 2, I feel like it's all the way back and we're diving right back in, and I'm excited where this season is going to go. All signs point to it being great. The early reviews are good. One thing I have a problem with, I saw this pop up for The Last of Us, and it's a really stupid thing to be upset with and let bother me, is I'm seeing before season 2 even premiered, like the day before, there were reviews for the entire season 2 popping up. Now, they were relatively spoiler-free reviews. From what I could tell, I didn't read any of them, but I hate that. Why are we reviewing full seasons of a TV series before the first episode of it has even premiered? I was seeing that on The Last of Us, and I feel like all that does is create unrealistic expectations or can bring people down if they're negative. I get that you don't want people to waste their time and then be mad, but let people experience it for themselves, draw their own conclusions. Why are we doing full season reviews when episode 1 hasn't even premiered? That bugs me. I don't like it. So, new music to listen to news. I've talked about Punk Rock Factory before because they do some fantastic Disney covers, and they released their musical cover album. It's called It's Just a Stage We're Going Through. It features some songs from Wicked, Greatest Showman, Mamma Mia, Grease, all sorts of things. And Les Mis, Dear Evan Hansen. It's got quite the variety, and I have mixed feelings on it. There's a couple ones that I didn't care about the songs and the musicals as much. Like You're the One That I Want. I like the punk rock cover or pop punk, whatever you want to call it. It's a little bit of both. And that's one of my favorite genres of music. So I thought I was going to love this. But what I found is some songs like Waving Through a Window and Defying Gravity, that genre, it doesn't translate as well. You don't get the emotion and stuff that the actual musical performances carry. And so I don't care for those covers as much. It feels different than the Disney ones. Not that the Disney songs are more shallow, but I don't know. The heart doesn't seem to be there as much on those. So it's still a great album. Their arrangements are great, but it didn't quite do it for me. But there's still some on there. I like their cover of Mamma Mia. I think is great. And all of them are interesting arrangements, but just didn't quite hit the spot for me. Also, we're going to be doing more mini Broadway reviews next year because I officially got season tickets for the local makes it seem like it's local productions, but for the place that hosts the Broadway tours, that the touring companies for the 23-24 season. So going to be seeing Aladdin, Shrek the Musical, which I didn't even know was a thing, and so we'll see how that is. Jesus Christ Superstar, Les Mis, Mean Girls. I think that was all of them. Did I name five? There's five. May have forgotten one. I'm most excited for Les Mis and Mean Girls, I think. I've talked about the Mean Girls cast album on here and the upcoming movie a number of times. So I'm excited about that and getting to see those. And so I'm going to transition this into my power ranking of the live musicals I've seen. And these are just on like the Broadway tours, not like local productions or high school ones. That doesn't count. These are like the official, the legit ones. Because I was thinking about it more after it's been a week since I saw Book of Mormon and loved it. And I was thinking of where that ranked with all the ones I've seen. I've only seen 5, so this will be a short list. But I think the more I reflect on it and think about it, Book of Mormon tops my live musical power ranking. It just the environment, the crowd reaction to it, the laughter, the enjoyment, the catchiness of the songs. Book of Mormon is number 1 for me. That's the most fun that I've had at a show, and it's the one that I would sign up to see again tomorrow. I'm all in on that one. Second is going to be Rent. That was actually the first one that I went to see, and it was back before COVID, and when I first discovered Rent and I watched the movie, started listening to the soundtrack, watched the recorded Broadway version. Then I saw they were going to be in the town I'm in shortly after that, and I snagged tickets, and it was fantastic. I loved it. It's such a fun live performance, too. The band is on stage playing on part of the set, and it just has a cool energy, and I love the musical as it is. Third would be Hamilton. I've seen Hamilton twice now. The music in it is fantastic. The set is fantastic. Both performances I've seen, the cast, everyone has been fantastic. So Hamilton comes in at 3. Then I'm going to do Wicked. Wicked, I thought was a lot of fun. I had been wanting to see Wicked for a while. I think that's another one where the cast and everything was fantastic. The staging, the set design in Wicked is awesome with the time dragon clock and all these other things that they bring into it. It was a lot of fun. Enjoy Wicked. And then 5th is Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera was still fantastic. And it was still awesome to see, especially when you see the chandelier drop at the live performances. It's awesome. But it just ranked a little lower for me. All these are fantastic musicals that I would see again in a heartbeat, and I would recommend anyone to go see. None of them were a waste of time. If you're going to see, especially an official Broadway touring company, the official productions, these people are so good. I talked about when I talked about Book of Mormon last week that I saw the understudies for the 2 leads, and you couldn't even tell. They were awesome. They didn't miss a beat. Their staging, I feel like an understudy has to be one of the hardest roles to do in a Broadway production. You have to know everything. You're not doing it day in, day out, so it's not quite becoming a second nature to you. Having to know all that blocking, staging, all the lines, all the mannerisms, all the emotion, and you never know when you're going to go on. Although I say that, in my theory, whether it's true or not, I went to a Saturday matinee showing, and so I wonder if they utilize understudies a lot in the matinee showings and then have the main cast in the evening showings, so that they can kind of save their voice more and longevity where they're doing this day in, day out. So that's my live musical rankings. And I'm curious to hear, those of you who have been to multiple musicals, what are your favorite ones you've seen? What are ones that you would recommend if you have a chance? The spectacle of this or the experience of it live, you gotta see it. One that I missed out on last year, that the couple that had season tickets I was sitting next to, I went to Hamilton, they recommended, they said How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical, is actually fantastic, which I was not expecting, and it came to my town, but I was out of town. It was only here for like 2 days, and I was gone both those days, so I didn't get to check it out. But I'm curious if any of you have seen it. Let me know your thoughts and if it's worth a watch. All right. One other thing is I mentioned it briefly last week that there was a new Hulu musical series Up Here that was premiering. And this, in the trailers, they tout that it's from one of the writers or people behind Book of Mormon, Hamilton, some other well-known Broadway plays are thrown out there. I watched the first episode. The entire season's out now. I just haven't had time to watch all of it. It's set in, I want to say it was 2000 or not. No, it's set in 1999 or 2000. And she moves to New York. And so I'm worried it's going to pull a Remember Me moment that whatever his name is, the sparkly vampire who is also Batman, that I can't think of his name right now, and it seems disrespectful, but it's not. I just honestly, my mind is blank this weekend. But where it's like at the end, it reveals he was in the Twin Towers on 9/11. So I hope this doesn't do a 9/11 angle in it, because that's just unnecessary. I feel like it's not like it's based on a true story or anything. But I went to watch it, and episode 1 starts with like a 3-minute trailer series preview for like this season on Up Here. Why? And it didn't give you the option to like skip it. It wasn't like a separate segment before it got into it. It was just that was the first 3 minutes of the episode. And I don't know why on a streaming site, you are leading out the episode with that. That's supposed to take place after the first episode to say what to expect for this season. But why are you starting out? I thought that was stupid. I didn't like that. Don't give away things that are going to happen right before I watch it. Dumb. I'm already watching this. Don't show me that I should watch this. They're short episodes. They're like 25, 30-minute episodes. And the other pleasant surprise was Mae Whitman has a great voice, and I was pleasantly surprised. I haven't seen her in many things. She was one of those faces that I recognize, but doesn't have instant name recognition. But she did a great job in this. I ultimately, nothing in it grabbed me, and I know it was only one episode, and you got to give things more of a shot than that. And I will finish it, and we'll discuss it on here once I do my final thoughts. But we'll see. It has mixed reviews on IMDb. I'd say I think it's only like 6 or 8 episodes, so it's not a giant waste of time if it's not great. You gotta have patience with new series, especially trying to find their footing. There's TV series that were great that had rough first seasons. Parks and Rec is one of the ones that I think of that had the biggest change in quality pickup in season 2. People say The Office a lot, but going back, and season 1 of The Office has some great episodes. Also has some slightly problematic episodes, but it's got some really solid ones in there too. So those are my brief episode 1 thoughts on Up Here. So we'll see how that picks up. And then that's all my random thoughts for. Oh, I saw John Wick 4. Fantastic action series. Chad Stileski has been great on these, and he knows how to shoot action. The John Wick movies are ones that the dialogue in them sucks. The main story generally is not much there. It kind of sucks, but the action is the best action that I have seen in any movie. They don't use shaky cam like a lot of movies do in the action scenes to hide either people's faces or how the choreography is going. And I rewatched the original John Wick, the first 3 John Wick movies before I went to see 4. And the second one, John Wick 2, has a scene in like this art gallery that's in like a room of mirrors. And shout out to the team. I feel like I don't have movie making knowledge, but whoever the cinematographer, the director, whatever it's called, that has to shoot everything, when he was told the sequence was going to be shot, had to be like, fuck you. Because Just, I don't know how you do that. I am ignorant, and I feel like that would be a pain in the ass to try to film something in a room that's filled with mirrors and be able to hide that camera and the cameraman in it. But awesome movies. John Wick 4 is almost 3 hours long. It didn't feel like it though. The action in it was fantastic. One thing I will say, there were so many nut shots in this movie. For a movie not named Jackass, I think this is the most nut shots I have ever seen in a movie. But it was great. Highly recommend John Wick 4 if you're okay with brutal, over the top R rated action. So that's my final mini review of the week. Next, and this is going to be the last thing, then we'll wrap it up. It is a mini episode after all, is our movies that should be musicals segment. I am not an expert, obviously. I do not know what it takes to produce a musical, and I do not know what the people like. But that being said, I feel like The Breakfast Club could be easily adapted and turned into a fantastic musical. John Hughes movie from the 80s. A bunch of high school kids are from all different, I almost said factions, uh, all different walks of life, all different personalities, all different groups are stuck in Saturday detention together. They go explore the school, find out they have more in common. It's pretty classic coming of age comedy in that John Hughes, I feel like, has a very distinct style from that era, and it's awesome movie. Um, I say that I've watched it once and I liked it, but it is a very well respected movie. I feel like with Heathers being turned into a musical, that dark comedy from the 80s with Christian Slater and Winona Ryder, which I love that musical. We've talked about my love for it on here, and we will be talking about that musical at some point, hopefully soon. And then with Mean Girls being turned into a musical, that the kind of high school drama comedy is set up and poised pretty well for Broadway and being turned into musical adaptations. That teenage angst gives you a lot of fodder for writing songs and having them be catchy or heartfelt. With The Breakfast Club being set in the 80s and all these different personality types, you're setting yourself up where you can mix a lot of different genres in this in the soundtrack, in the score, up in there to kind of express the different personalities of the different characters, who they are, where they're coming from. You can have some more emotional lyrics, you can have some more fun, just upbeat songs, and it already has an iconic song tied to it with Don't You Forget About Me at the ending, and just a fist up reference to Pitch Perfect, everything like that. You can get some 80s nostalgia in there. I feel like the high school set is one that you can probably do relatively inexpensively, so I feel like there wouldn't be a ton of startup costs and everything going into that. It's not a huge ensemble cast that you got to deal with there. Few people, it can be an intimate thing, and it might be one that's more equipped for off Broadway. But I feel like The Breakfast Club could be turned into an awesome musical. And I feel like I saw that because the Orpheum Theater in Omaha, they announced their Broadway season coming up. And Pretty Woman is musical. I didn't know that. That was my ignorance. And so they like turning these things, the IP that people already connect with, they know. So it's not as risky as a completely new concept. You almost already have a built-in audience with an existing IP when you try to turn that into a musical. And so you know that it might not completely flop. We talked about Bad Cinderella a few of the last mini episodes. I think we talked about on one of the ones with Rayleigh as well. That's open on Broadway. And from what I've been seeing, it has been getting kind of shredded in reviews. And one of the biggest things I've heard is that the title and the character, it's trying to be a different take or a bad Cinderella. sh- You don't really focus on her being bad, but it's got a couple catchy songs from the soundtrack, and so I don't know. We'll see. You can't say you're trying to do a different take and be edgier and something new, and then just give people more of what they know. So I think Breakfast Club, it could be unique yet familiar enough to still draw an audience in and keep people coming to it. So thank you, Jake, for the idea again. That is my first pitch for movies that should be turned into musicals. I did a brief Google and I didn't see that it already exists, but there's a chance it could. Um, but that's my pitch. That's my thoughts. And this is going to be actually legit mini episode because that's going to wrap it up for this week. So I appreciate everyone along for the ride. Like I said, our inboxes, our DMs are open, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Reach out to us with ideas, suggestions, things you want to see in the episodes. Comment below on the video or comment on our Instagram your favorite Broadway shows you've been to. Doesn't have to be actually on Broadway. I've gone to 0 shows actually on Broadway. But your favorite musicals that you've seen live, let us know. And interested to hear your thoughts. One idea that I had that I'd like to do here is people give us more ideas or more segments they'd like to see, or if they just want to give us random topics they want us to talk about, do scenes from a hat style, like from Whose Line Is It Anyway, where write suggestions down, piece of paper, throw them in a hat, grab them. That's what we'll talk about. So it'll be a true grab bag mini episode. But as always, thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for next week. Life's been crazy for Rayleigh and I, so we'll see. Our schedule might get altered a bit for April, what with Easter and everything else going on. But there will be new episodes on Wednesday, as always. We will keep up with that. It just might get shifted when they're joint episodes and when they're solo. So stay tuned. Love you all. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to go down once more. Later.